So here we are at the Elmia show. Just going to do a walk around of the stand. It's not too busy at the moment. You can see the sort of avenue down there, but it is very, very busy in the main stand. If I had a tip for going to Elmia, if you're just going to have a walk around, I'd almost sort of do it sort of about lunchtime onwards, because the show really quietens down from about 2:30 onwards. So at the show we're doing it in conjunction with Panther Mills with Xylo Design, and Xylo Design is Andreas, who's the handsome fellow over there. Also doing it with Robin over here, who's even more handsome, arguably. It's the chap behind here, the chap over here. It's been really good because the guys here have actually picked me up from the airport. They built this stand. Andreas built a lot of the mills for the show, so it meant I didn't have to do everything myself. So a bit of an overview. Which mill's what? Well, this here is this 60-inch Panther mill. If you're in centimetres, the bar in there I think is 162, so the actual mill profiles are 150 long. So often it's always the question is, well, how much cutting width do you get? Well, do you see that the length of the bar, you obviously have to clamp inside of the nose here, and you have to clamp here. So the part you get cutting is in between those 2 points. So on that sort of bar there, you probably knock off 8 inches. So if you said round about 54 inches. Yeah, one of the mistakes people make is, it's trying to fine tune it. My log is 48 inches. If I then get a mill that can cut 49 inches, do not think that way, because you need at least 6 inches beyond the log size due to lumps and bumps. And maybe your saw, some saw, the Huskies seem to have a little bit extra milling length. Don't try and fine tune it, is a really big mistake. This is like a 2 metre mill, and that's with a 74-inch bar in there. And I know I'm using metric and imperial. That's just how I think about it. For some reason I think of the profiles metrically and the bars in inches. So yeah, so that shows there, that's quite a good example there of, it's like, well, how can I put a smaller bar, shorter bar in a bigger mill? Well, all that happens is the mill just pokes out the far end. So often you can get an oversized mill and you can just have that bit poking out, and then if you get a longer bar later, easy, you just slide that down, slide the nose piece down. The other way round, yes, we do an extension for the tube and the 2 rails, but the easier way is to have the longer mill in the first place. So that's something to bear in mind if you want to go longer in the future. Or you just buy a whole new, the stainless handle and 2 profiles longer. So first cut systems here is like, this is the wide first cut system, and I think how Andreas likes some, you can put it directly on the log if you wanted to, but how he prefers to do it, you can sort of see what he's done here is he's fixed this piece of timber into the bigger end. I mean, you can then measure down to the centre if you wanted to from the rails, and then try and organise the far end to be the same to the centre. But where this part, this is very typical of a chainsaw mill type log. You would probably only ever chainsaw mill something like this because of the shape, the knots. But that's really where you get the character, and that's where chainsaw mills come in. You can, a big log or a bigger log like this, to try and put on a mill or a bigger mill or take it somewhere. I mean, you could have almost milled it by the time you've done that yourself. So that gets your first cut, and hopefully that's fairly straightforward as to how that works. So the mill itself rides on the first cut system. Now, loads of people like using a ladder, and that's a good idea. The benefit of the Panther first cut systems is you can extend them. It's always a little bit of a fiddle, and you always have to tweak it a bit because it's a weaker point where it joins, but it does mean that you can extend the mill if you need to. and I'd say that's the main benefit. A lot of people like using a ladder still, but and again, the good thing, you're not going to get a ladder, or it's unusual to get a ladder this wide, and what that does, it gives you really good support to get that first cut flat. And if you've got that first cut flat, you then use that flat cut surface to run the mill over. So Andreas just filling up his chainsaw there. So it's time for some cutting. He likes that. That's what he likes. He likes
some exhibition.
He likes to work. He likes to be the centre of attention.
Always.
He's such an exhibitionist. But at least it's only with chainsaw milling, which is which we should all be very thankful for. So he did that large ash slab in the background, which is like 6 foot across. So this is elm. So you've already taken off the first cut and a couple of slabs, and then you can see the process there. I mean, he's going to set that mill down to about 2 inches and 2.5 inches, whatever he chooses. And that's one of the benefits of the Panther, the Panther system. Well, it's the biggest advantage. You don't have to fiddle around with nuts and bolts like you do the other chainsaw mills. So for instance here, it's going to be a bit harder to do one-handed, but it is possible. You can undo these handles, so there's no tools, there's no like bolts. I might not be able to do it one hand. Yeah, I can. And then it's tricky to do with one hand here. Let me just try that. But then the idea is, there we go. You can then adjust the height. As I say, you can sort of do it one-handed, but it is awkward. And then when you adjust the height of whatever cut that you want, you can see here we have got inches on the right and centimetres on the left. A lot of the other scales you'll see on chainsaw mills, you'll see they're just engraved in, but these are actually cut through. If you can see that, you can see all the way through, look, because they're cut all the way through, laser cut. So it doesn't matter which way the light hits the measurements, you'll always be able to see them. It does weaken the upright very slightly. I mean, I have seen people break the uprights, but it is very rare. So all of the materials here are better quality, stainless steel, anodized aluminium. Again, the winch light, stainless steel. And this is what you're paying for here compared to the cheaper mills that you might see elsewhere. We tend to have more bracing, you know, to have that block here, more braces, stainless nose guard here, and again you can sort of see the length of the bar. I think that's a 54-inch bar in a 60-inch mill, 150 centimetres. Profiles, it's on the other side there, but you can see the end of the mill quite happily protrudes here, and so you can always put an oiler. I mean, some people buy an extra mill and you seat your oiler here. You can see the skid is drilled for the oiler holes just here. This mill's actually been mounted to get absolutely maximum, which I always advise against, but if you seat it back slightly, let's have a look on Andreas's mill. He might have it. No, yeah, he seats it. Yeah, see, Andreas. Oh no, sorry. With the bigger bars here, you have oiler holes just here. Do apologise, Andreas. I was prejudging you there for no reason. But yeah, the auxiliary oiler bolts go in there, and you can have an extra oiler if you wanted to. That is, again, a lot of people say, probably when I go back, I'll see them and feel particularly stupid. Yes, I will. It's still been mounted a bit further forward. I would put it in this hole here. But you have your oiler bolts here. We do some upgraded stainless steel with a bigger hole that feeds into the bar, and then on the oil travels usually on the top of the bar, but a lot loses off the nose and there's no avoiding that, and then come down this side. I think Andreas is almost ready to go. He's pretty good, he gets on with it, and quite tricky to do it. You can see in front of an audience as well. So people starting to hear the noise. He's going to go down the log here. I think he's looking for his earplugs now. Yes, yeah, I know. Oh, very kind. Look at that. You see, what a guy. What a guy. Just always thinking of other people. Always thinking of other people. now he's putting in the little end winch anchor, look. And this winch is the game changer.